The Copa Robertson, the Ballot. So Sam and his awesome team are actually based down in Pointy and Wellington, and they travel around the country. The mission is to increase the accessibility of local council elections, which can be quite happens out there, not to me here. And also to create more channels for the voters to engage directly with our candidates. And so under this team, we've actually travelled up from Wellington to be here, such as the commitment to
testing on stream.
Yeah, transparency, engagement, and it's all self-funded.
Wow.
So what about yourself? Where do you come from?
Oh, I'm come from here, from Southern.
Oh, you're local. Yeah.
Yeah, local. And so when I heard that Bro Sam was in town just a couple of days ago, I got on the phone and said, hey, what can we do to help? And, yeah, so that's a bit of what's brought us here.
You can hear me on stream or just Discord.
Team been doing the Sky Magic dance,
Yeah.
where there's two buttons to push and who's got the second one. Yeah, so I appreciate your
get going here, Stacey.
You're with an awesome team who's travelled around the country. It's not just local council elections that they come in
Brody.
support,
Yeah.
but also crossing the line now to the man himself.
Awesome. Yeah.
And that's an applause.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Tonight, these candidates are vying for your first preference vote in the Pāpāmoa Ward in this local body elections. But with every election, there's one thing standing in their way, and that's your vote. Go straight to camera 1 or camera 2, which one? Okay, well, which one? Camera 3. God, we're having fun on the cameras tonight. It seems to be. At least this one was just pressing the wrong button. So tonight we're coming here live from the Papamoa Community Centre, and we're going to be bringing you the Pāpāmoa Ward candidates. And thank you for those who have participated in us. You might notice the backdrop on there. On my show earlier today, we had sunshine. Now we have what do you call it? Stars. So that is the good part going on here. So we've got 5 great candidates here. Just give a quick from my side here. Just say, hi, I'm candidate such and such, and go from there. And microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Otherwise, those at home.
1 minute or the.
No.
Hi,
Just say, hi, I'm candidate.
I'm Dr. Tim Maltby.
Hi, I'm John Bowden.
Hi, I'm Shelley Robb.
Kia ora, I'm Rhea Hall.
I'm Brian Archer.
Okay, and thank you for that for candidates. Normally we'd have reveal posters, but we've lost one, so we decided it was unfair to sit there and do that, because it's in the ballot here about fairness and making sure everyone has the same equal opportunity. That's on, who has put their feet to the it's in the ballot fire. So let's kick off with opening statements. So I'll start going down the run sheet of who's actually here. So Brian, you get to kick off with your opening statement because your name's at the top of the list thanks to the alphabet.
Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
Well, thank goodness with voting papers and local bodies, they mix up the orders now. But yes, that used to be the case a few years ago. So yeah, kick off, 1 minute.
Evening, everybody. Why am I looking for your vote? The last council betrayed our trust. Our voices were taken away from where decisions are made. And I'm standing because I want to see a cohesive, unified council functioning with respect and dignity towards each other. I'm standing as an independent, not for a political party or an ideology or for my own agenda. I want to see our money used as wisely and effectively as possible. You need a representative who cares about the long-term decisions they make on your behalf. Like you, I live in this area. Therefore, what happens matters to me as it matters to you.
Gee, that's quick and sharp. And going from there, next up, John.
Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming. I'm an old boy of Tauranga. I grew up here when I remember running, actually, in Papamoa. I'm a runner representing New Zealand, and I got my competition from the Sandhills of Papamoa, and my coach killed me from Tauranga Boys College. So then I went away, went to Auckland, got my degree, and have come back. And I live with my darling wife who couldn't make it. She's looking after our young family. We've got little Phoenix, and he's 9. And we've got Mercedes, who's 10, and we've got a special needs boy, Jackson, who's trying to make the Paralympics. So look, we love living here. It's made a huge difference to our family, especially to Jax. So I'm running because I think I've got a lot to offer. I love achieving. I love compromise. I know it's a funny word, but we need to work as a team. I kind of work for Athletics New Zealand, developing policies, picking teams for world championships. So thank you.
Okay, next up, Ria.
Oh, kia ora, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with such esteemed company, and of course everyone watching online too. My name's Ria Hall, born and bred here in Tauranga Moana. Grew up in Maunga Tapu, went to school there, Tauranga Intermediate, Tauranga Girls College. So I'm here through and through. And basically, I just want to echo the sentiments of Brian. I'm here to make an impact and to affect change and to deliver hope for change. I have a background in political science. I'm currently finishing my Masters of Regional Development, and I have a vision for Tauranga, a much needed vision to deliver for Tauranga. More to the point as well, I have the energy, I have the capacity, I have the drive and the ambition, and I know that Pāpāmoa and Tauranga need that in order to progress into the future-focused, progressive, modern city that we deserve to have as part of bringing up our children, your mokopuna, and the generations to come. So my strategy is very much intergenerational and forward-focused. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you. And next up, Tim.
Oh, evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tim Maltby. I was born in Tauranga, raised in Tauranga, did my first job in Tauranga. Then I went off to university as an adult student, did my engineering, then went to Cambridge in England, did my doctorate over there. So I've worked overseas for quite a few years, but like a salmon, you've got to come back to your river. So I'd originally planned to live overseas permanently. I was married to a New Zealand girl. My children were born over there in Aberdeen in Scotland. But we came back in 2007, I think, 20 years ago. No, 2004, sorry, 20 years ago. So I've been living in Papamoa for 20 years. And I'm being an engineer. We engineers, we just quietly go about our business, busy doing our engineering stuff. And I've watched the council and I think, gosh, that's stupid. You know, they're not doing that very well. No, they're wasting our money. And our rates keep going up and up and up and up. And I thought, well, maybe I should do something. And they thought, no, don't be silly. Someone else will fix it. Then the commissioners came along and I thought, that's amazing.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
that was quick.
Oh, yeah, we don't muck around here. Don't muck around here. And Shelley, your opening statement.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you to my family for coming out and supporting me. You're wonderful. This is an exciting and inspiring time for Tauranga, and no one should underestimate the importance of this election. This is a new beginning, a huge opportunity to move the city forward in a dynamic and a visionary way. to find new ways to find much needed funding to upgrade infrastructure, to form strong working relationships with our neighbouring councils, and to share and rationalise resources, skills and expertise, to lobby central government to get our fair share of roading upgrades, provincial funding and infrastructure funding. Hi, I'm Shelley Robb and I have a vision for Papamoa.
Thank you for that. Now, the questions we think you'll be asking after watching today's show, let's bring them up on screen. Well, when you can zoom it out on my one will be actually good, otherwise no one can see them. Well, they ain't camera one. Okay, so let's kick it off there. Will Rotorua to Papamoa drivers soon be heading via Tauranga to avoid a toll road? Will Buckingham Palace be opening a branch in Papamoa? And is Papamoa about to become the most public transport-friendly suburb for wheelchair users? I've been told that they have nice concrete pads between instead of berms at bus stops. So let's kick off with the start of the show. So how we do things on here is each candidate gets to sit there and pick a box number, and then they get 1 minute to answer the question. Every candidate gets given 2 button cards and 1 defer card. If a candidate wants to use a button card, they present the button card and button their answer after the other candidate has finished their answer, because otherwise it's very, very rude to do that. And it's, we don't want candidates talking over the top of each other. And we've got Brodie, who is coming here to sit there and be local, question host. How is things going this evening?
Ai, kia ora tātou. Very well, thank you. Pai kiti a koutou. Good to see you all. Thank you for coming out tonight. Ko ai aue tuakene, who am I? No kōtirana o kutupuna. Engari, I whānau mai ahau ki Tauranga Moana. My bones hail from Scotland, and I'm blessed to say I'm born and raised here in Tauranga Moana, and it's my pleasure to be your buxom host this evening.
Thank you for that, and thank you for sitting there doing it. We finally have a show where you and I are hosting it after a few little rocky starts. Okay, now my random order sheet has put Tim at the top of the list. What box number?
13.
I love that. I love that. Don't have to remind people about the microphone.
Ai, kia ora Tim. Te pātau tuatahi mō tēnei pō. Our first question this evening is question J, for those following at home. What are your thoughts on charging, I'll start again. What are your thoughts on charging commercial rates on houses used for Airbnb? If this is the case in Tauranga, will this be on houses that are only used for Airbnb, or will this include houses that the host lives in and rents out bedrooms?
Hi, well, if Airbnb is a commercial operation, there are some batch owners who do it just to help pay the mortgage, but there are other owners who have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Airbnb properties. They should definitely be paying commercial rates because they're doing commercially. If you're just renting out a bedroom, I don't think it should apply, but probably something like if you're renting out more than so many days a year, then you should contribute to the commercial rates, because motels have to pay, hotels have to pay, all the other accommodation providers have to pay commercial rates, and I think it's fair.
And just for those who have some context out there, Lakes Rotorua District Council is going, I'm not sure if they finished consultation, but I know it was a hot topic that made national media news. So, and it's probably going to be another hot topic for the future councillors and mayor of the Tauranga City Council. Okay, now I'll get back to the right thing on there. Ria, you get the next box number.
Oh, fabulous. Can I please have box number 9?
You don't have to ask from the front row.
Oh, but that is
Favorite number. That's my favorite number.
Oh, yes. Kapai. So our question is letter Y and reads, what will you do to improve the relationship between the police and young people in our community?
Yeah, pātai pai tēnā, very, very good question. I think ultimately it comes down to relationships, and it comes down to a continued advocacy for support between police and its communities, particularly youth. And so just just to continue reiterating the importance of relationships. It's fundamental to everything that we do, particularly in spaces like the council, central government. Relationships and relationship building to create safer, more cohesive communities is vital to the support of our of Tauranga Moana across the board. So I would be advocating continuously for good standing relationships between council, the police, and those specific communities to bring about outcomes that we need and our people deserve.
Thank you for that. Next up, Shelley. What box number?
I'd like number 3, please.
3. And is that, was it what you asked after number 1 and number 2 for the preferences?
No, definitely 1 and 2.
And your Pātai Shelley, letter G, your question reads, given the well-established evidence globally and within New Zealand that congestion is increased when more and bigger roads are built, and also that congestion is bad for the economy, including wages, what policies would you support to improve the mobility of residents around Tauranga City?
One of our biggest problems, and one that I'd like to face the minute I get into council, is these raised crossings. It has been already shown that raised crossings create problems for police, for ambulance, and for our older people. And having to take my husband to hospital over a number of occasions over the last few months, I have found that the raised crossings have been absolutely unbearable for him. And I am yet to find somebody who can prove to me that they actually do what people want them to do. Thank you.
Okay, John, what box number?
Let's try 21.
Oh, yes, the voting age where my now 96-year-old grandmother first voted.
Kia ora, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Letter V for you. With crime and violence on the rise, what measures...
V for Victor?
V for Victor, apologies. Get our phonetics on. V for Victor reads, with crime and violence on the rise, what measures will you take to ensure the safety of students walking to and from schools and in public spaces?
Yeah, I love that question. Look, we live out by a school, and I know that would be great to have speed limits, especially outside schools. So that's the first thing. Got to go back to 30 to 40k. It's just one of those things that it's too dangerous for kids on scooters now. They're on bikes, they walk, they run, and so speed limits for me outside schools has to be one of the big reasons why we do. Look, I think the second thing I'd be doing, we as a council would be working with the schools. I know they have a great scheme where the kids are learning about crossings, and so I think that's imperative. And finally, I believe that, like my compatriot here said about the raised crossings, they need to go as well in terms of student safety with bikes coming to school. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Brian, what box number?
4.
And for those at home, box number 4.
Kia ora, Brian. Box number 4 has letter AA, and your question reads, how will you support youth leadership and civic engagement programs?
There's an old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. And there are ample opportunities out there for youth. I'd like to see them get up and seize those opportunities. Council has provided facilities and they need to take the initiative. It's not for council to go around and ask every youth, what do you want? What do you want? There are opportunities out there. I would like to see the youth stepping up and taking those responsibilities and exercising initiative.
Yep, we've got Rio with a button.
Yeah, further to that, I think it's more about the systems that are provided for our rangatahi to be able to engage in democracy. And so for me, it's more so about being able to create the conditions so that youth can thrive in these spaces. So things that are central, such as citizen assemblies, where youth are able to come together as a cohort and then feed in directly into council, using direct democracy and accessibility to their councillor and their mayor. Brokering opportunities to support civic engagement, I think, is fundamental to our youth actually engaging in the process, because as we all know, the youth don't know what's going on with this particular election. So it's important that we, create the conditions and provide opportunity for our youth to engage.
You going to chuck another button?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Look, I'm on the World Mountain Running Council, and I started an athletes commission. I'd love to see a youth council or something similar, because I believe then you hit the schools. So you hit Papamoa College, you hit the intermediate schools, and you get representatives by starting a youth council, which, and in special meetings at the council, we invite a representative from that youth council to come in and speak on behalf of young people. So it's important that we form relationships with schools and set up a council. I'd love to see a youth council be set up so we can use that as well.
Okay, and now we're for round 2 on the questions. Rhea, what box number?
Let's go with box number 15.
Kia ora Rhea. This question is letter B and reads, Aotearoa New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures and social identities. Studies have shown that diverse and inclusive societies both increase well-being and economic growth. How would you actively improve Tauranga Moana's sense and celebration of its diverse society?
Pātai tino pai tērā. Great question. And part of my suite of offerings, as part of my priorities, is focusing on creating just that, a more socially cohesive and connected society, and diverse voices need to be included in the decision-making process. If we are to have any real success in celebrating our uniqueness, it's all good and well to say that we are a unique society, but what actually are we doing to implement that with something, with some substance and actual teeth? So again, citizen assemblies are a great way to try and bring those communities together, using direct democracy, deliberative democracy as the mechanism by which these communities can finally be heard. Because as we've all experienced, or as we've all seen, that's not necessarily the case, particularly at local government level. So I'm really energized by creating those kinds of conditions again. I think you can kind of cut and paste these situations and apply them to so many different scenarios. But I do believe that deliberative democracy is a wonderful way to get minority groups involved in our processes and to have their voices heard.
Okay, Brian, what box number?
7.
Hi, kia ora Brian. Your question is letter T and reads, how will you support mental health services for youth in our area?
There are government agencies out there that do this sort of work already. From my perspective, council is not a health provider. They're not the piggy bank. And if council picked up those responsibilities, our rates would skyrocket. But council can make people more aware. They can provide more services. One of the services that my brother does is he drives and picks up people to and from the hospital. That's something that council can get involved in to help these people. Thank you.
Okay. John, what box number?
Let's try 28. Is it 28?
Straight to the top, John. Your pātai reads, letter X. And we have for you, what initiatives will you implement to reduce crime and make our neighbourhoods safer?
Right. Like Rita said, I think relationships with the police, I've started chatting to some of them already in Papamoa to find out really what is going on in our community. And I'm going to do more of that. I notice at Ted and Henry's, where I frequent, they're always there at 10:30 having a cup of coffee. So my first practical solution is actually talk to the police in a setting where everybody can have a chat. And I know they do that really well. Secondly, I think developing close-knit communities in our neighbourhood. I know we speak to our neighbours really, really well. And it's hard because, for example, our double garage door was left open all day until, well, it would have been all day. I'd left, I sat on my butt and pressed the button to the garage door. Fortunately, our neighbour saw it, rang us up. We said, go into our house, there's a button on the wall, can you put it down? But nobody had stolen anything for 4 hours. So I think because we've got a neighbourhood watch type of thing. So thank you.
Hey, no problem, Shelley, but with button.
I'd just like to add to that. First of all, I think we have the most amazing neighbourhood watch working, particularly in Papamoa, and a big shout out to the work that they do. I think it's absolutely incredible. And the second thing is that I think we need to continue to promote good lighting in areas and also cameras to help with the crime and to reduce some of that crime and to make our people feel safer as they move around. I think one of the most beautiful things about Papamoa is that we can and should feel safe in our community.
Okay. Shelley, what box number?
Number 27, please.
Shelley, your question is letter Q and reads, if you are elected as a councillor, will you decelerate council spending on unwanted grand projects and concentrate on vital, necessary infrastructure needs such as roading?
Great question for me because the answer is no. I really believe that we need to continue with the blueprint that's been set out for us. I think that some of the work that's been already set out is absolutely amazing, and I think that our community has benefited greatly from being a wonderful place to live, play, and grow. And I know that there's a lot more work to be done, and I know that we need a council that is really visionary to take us forward and to continue to make this both an environment that is sustainable, environmentally friendly, but also a wonderful place to bring up our families and our grandchildren.
And Tim, what box number?
26 for me, please.
They seem to like picking the high numbers.
Well, it's double 13, you see.
Letter M. M for Mary, which reads, given the overwhelming empirical evidence showing that sprawl costs the public purse, ratepayers, way more than intensive urban development, for example, the OECD shows it triples the cost of public services, will you agree to contain the city boundaries as they are to encourage the city to go up instead of out?
I'm definitely for medium density and high density housing. Basically, I think the old model of urban sprawl is unaffordable. We just can't keep doing that. We're using too much land. We have too much travel. It just makes everything far too expensive. So I'm definitely for high density and medium density housing in the right places. We can utilize existing infrastructure. It does bring problems. I think what you have to do is also try and create commercial shops, commercial and light industrial areas so that people don't have to travel all across the city to work or play. I think that's part of the deal. Yeah.
Okay, and we go to the next round. And Brian, you get to pick the next box number.
All right, Brian, tēnei tōpātai. This is your question, letter K. I have recently visited Gisborne and had the pleasure of eating at Tahu Restaurant, which now sits atop the new Midway Surf Club. Would you consider allowing licenses for the Mount and Pāpāmoa surf clubs? Why or why not?
To me, that's a very short answer question. They're a volunteer organisation. They get their funding from people like you and me. They're not supported by government. If they are providing meals and there's alcohol, then I have no objection to that. I'm quite happy with that. If it's a bring your own, then the liquor merchant is making the profit. I see that Surf Lifesaving Club should have that profit. But if it's a straight out bar, then I'm definitely a no.
Okay, Tim, what box number?
10, please. 10, please.
Tim, tēnei tōpātai. This is your question, the letter R. R. How will you ensure that the voices of young people who are often at work or school during public meetings have their voices heard in our local government decisions?
Well, I think it's important for everyone to have their voices heard. I mean, the whole of Tauranga has a problem getting to meetings. We have a big problem with participation when we have feedback and consultation. I think a lot of people really aren't that engaged. So I think we can encourage young people. I mean, young people, it's a great time to get them started. So I would encourage young people to take leadership, get involved in politics at school, get involved in clubs where you've got leadership. We can create some sort of mechanism for them to contribute directly. But really what we're trying to do is grow young citizens, not just sort of some special program. We want young citizens who are prepared to take responsibility, take leadership, and get involved in the community. Thank you.
Okay, Shelley, what box number?
I'll have number 8, please.
Shelley, tēnei tōpātai. Letter F. Yes or no? Do you support the establishment of Māori wards? Do you support the Treaty of Waitangi? Why or why not?
Another great question for me. I like the idea that we have a Māori ward this time, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it works and to give a very valuable voice around the council table. And I also support a referendum should it be made to have one before the next election.
Okay, and we've got a button from Ria.
That's a very on the fence answer there, Shelley. You either support it in its full capacity and its democratic standing as a ward, or you don't. With this situation, you can't be sitting on the fence saying that you support a referendum but you support the wards, because that doesn't politically make any sense. There's no cohesion in that kind of response. So what I'd like to encourage is a clear response that shows that you're decisive in what you offer up to the community.
Okay, and Ria, your microphone's back up again for another box number.
Excellent. Can I please have number 12?
All right, tēnei tōpātai. Letter S for San. How do you plan to address the issue of affordable housing for young people and young families?
Great question. And just reiterating what Tim was saying earlier in terms of the supporting of medium density and high density intensification in housing, I'm a very big believer, given we have no greenfield land left here in Tauranga Moana, that building up is the way to go. And when we build up, we'll also drive the market down, which will provide opportunities. I mean, I'm a young family myself, and it's hard getting into the market here. Houses are averaging now here in Tauranga at about $1 million Who has $1 million? Who has $250,000 or so to put up for a deposit? It's just it's incomprehensible. So I support high density, medium density housing, so that we can drive the market down. We can get more houses established here in Tauranga. We're 6,000 houses down. That's the crux of the situation that we're in. So if this is able to alleviate and ameliorate that situation, then I'm 100% for it, particularly for young families and for young people.
Okay. Next up, John.
Thank you. Let's try 17. Is it? Oh, yes. My eyesight's pretty good still.
John, this is your question. Letter W. How will you ensure that public spaces and facilities are accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities?
Love this question. Well, the bike paths which I walk on are not very good for wheelchairs, I can tell you that much. And so I don't know what we can do there, to be honest, other than pavement that we've done with the bike path, which is down on the coast. That would be good for our parks. I mean, I'm a great believer in health and exercise for the community, and I know practically I want to see water fountains. And when you go overseas, you know this, when you walk, there's always water fountains along our pathways. There's none except seats, which is fantastic. But for people in my age group, I'm in my 60s, and for mums with strollers, you need water. And so my practical thing would be to have water fountains along our bike paths. That would be fantastic, and more area and public bathrooms. Not enough. You kind of have to be a Dr. Sherlock Holmes to find out where the blooming bathrooms are along Papamoa. So I'd like to see more public bathrooms that are well kept. Thank you.
Certainly understand about the public bathrooms. Just want to ask, is the bike path, is that kind of more of a gravel type rather than a concrete type?
It is on a lot within Papamoa that there are. The only sealed ones are on the roadside. I want to see them where they're beautiful, because a lot of people use them, dogs and bikes.
Yeah.
Not wheelchairs so much, but to get them accessible, we've got to pave them.
Yeah.
Which is I know
that's a curiosity thing for me, just like, because something on there, and I certainly relate to the bathroom part as someone who does fruit and vegetable deliveries during the week. So it's always fun trying to find a good quality, clean bathroom. Some people say I'm fussy as the ladies are when it comes to the bathrooms, and I would agree.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Next round on the order list, and John, you get to go out first.
Dear, oh dear. Let's try 14. Is that still there?
I love it how all the candidates here are so observant on the numbers. And this is across multiple shows. It's not just this board.
Appreciated. John, tēnei tō pātai. Your pātai reads, it's letter Z for Zulu. What are your plans for implementing sustainable practices and green initiatives in our area?
Man, we have to get this recycling done much better. Look, I'll be honest, I got told off for putting the wrong stuff in my bin. I've got to look at the numbers. It's an educational thing, I think, and we can start young at schools. And for example, I've got my two littlies doing the recycling at 9 and 10, because then they have to read at the back so I don't get into trouble with my recycling man who told me off. Quite nicely, he did. Very nice. But so we have to educate. I have to take personal responsibility in doing it properly. Love the idea of recycling, but it just it's up here first and foremost, and you need to do it. I think we're fortunate that we've got a great recycling centre next door to Papamoa, really. So that's fantastic as well. So I want that upgraded and made more available. Thank you.
And for those at home, it's the 1, 2s, and 5s. Is that what is the
1, 2s, and 5s?
Yeah.
No,
I
can't read
do
number
the same
5.
job
It's
for
just
grandma
hopeless.
as well, having to ask me what the numbers are.
I've had to start getting glasses.
Yeah. Brian, what box number?
Number 19.
Was there any unique about age 19? Like, was it 18 is the voting age, 20 was the voting age, 21 was the voting age, but 19 just seems to be this like blur of nothing.
Somewhere in the middle. And our pātai for you, John, it's P for Peter. What is your position on fluoridating Tauranga's water supply?
That is a hot topic. Personally, I don't really have an opinion on it. I've got friends which are absolutely adamant, and my other friends are adamant the other way, and like near the twain will meet. I've got 3 doctors in my family, our wife, daughter, and grandson, and all of them are pro-fluoride. So I guess I'm biased, and it doesn't worry me that there is fluoride in the water. I think there are far more pressing issues like good drinking water itself. That goes way up the scale compared to fluoride in my books.
Shelley, what box number?
Number 4, please.
That's already been, I
Has
think.
already been asked.
Number 2. Is 2 gone?
Number 2's handed.
Number 2 for you, Shelley. Letter H for Harry. Do you wish to promote or delay public transport measures for Tauranga?
I would like to promote more public transport for Tauranga. I think that it's in Papamoa particularly, the buses do get used quite a lot, and I walk from our place up to the mall fairly regularly, and there's always people in the buses. I also really like the idea of the ferry from Mount Maunganui across to the main city. I think that would be just a really fun thing for people just to jump on and do as much as anything, as well as relieve some of the congestion on those roads. I noticed that in the plan, council have been working on and are working on improving the road into Mount Maunganui. But I think that more public transport or other forms of public transport could be reviewed and looked at in the future.
Okay, Tim, what box number? And now the TV's turned off.
Let's go for 16.
16.
16.
Number 16, letter U for uniform reads, what is your stance on supporting local businesses and entrepreneurship among young people?
Well, I think it's a very good thing, and it's something that kids can start doing at school. It's also something that really has to come from themselves, but we can give them a little bit of assistance. You know, there are clubs, there's business associations that sort of encourage this kind of thing. My feeling with council activities is that we should get behind community initiatives rather than try and do it as a council. So if there are community initiatives to support entrepreneurship, then council can get behind it. But council's not really in that business of doing it themselves.
Okay.
Button?
Yes, chucking a button.
I would just like to say that one of the concerns that I have is that with the opening of like the Sands, that the Papamoa local community, the Plaza, Fashion Island around here, that they are not lost in that transition to opening a new shopping centre. I totally support new business coming into the area, but I just think that we have to empower council to ensure that those business communities are also strongly supported, and so we don't lose and end up with another area of people not using it. So I'd just like to make sure that that is in line with where we're moving to as as new areas, new commercial areas come online.
Okay. Ria, what box number?
Box number 5, thank you.
Oh, the good old age you start school at. Shall we lower the voting age to 5?
I'm sure my 5-year-old would say yes.
Have they lived in the ward for 28 days?
Tēnei tōpātai, letter I for Indigo. Are you prepared to support unpopular but necessary levels of rates increases in order to ensure the financial viability of the council, instead of voting for lower rates increases in the interest of your own re-election prospects at the expense of future councils being able to fund infrastructure maintenance and upgrades?
Yeah, great question. And obviously always going to be a hot topic is the issue of rates. Now, from what I understand, and I actually support the introduction of 2 other rating schemes, that being the industrial rate system and the commercial rate system, that alleviates the burden from the residential ratepayers, which is, you know, crucial at this point in time. We're living in a housing crisis. We're living in a time where everything is incredibly expensive. So any way to ameliorate that, the burden off the ratepayer, is something that I absolutely support. And so these 2 initiatives broker that opportunity to ensure that rates are kept at a minimum, or at a level that's maintainable, without any kind of inflation occurring. So I completely support that.
Okay, now we're on for another round. And John, what box number? Gee, I like the look of the shock just then.
What? Oh,
Oh, it's just like, whoa, it's my turn.
it's my turn. Let's go for 20. Is it 25?
Your eyes are on, John. Start with John.
Yeah.
My pātai for you, John. Letter N for
November or
N for
April?
November. There we go. Thank you, Sam. Are you able to pronounce Tauranga correctly? And are you familiar with the local iwi and hapu in our city?
Tauranga. I used to say Tauranga when I was at school. That was terrible pronunciation. And I'll be honest, no, I don't. For that second half, I need to. And I was, as a teacher, taught history and the articles of the treaty. So I need to do that on a personal level and as a family. So quite happy to do that and learn. But no to the second part of the question.
Okay, Tim, what box number?
Box 20, please.
Box number 20.
Oh yes, the voting age for I think it's 50s or 60s it went down to from 21.
A long time ago.
I don't. Yeah.
Our letters read AB for the one and only.
All Blacks.
All Blacks, how will you make sure that the needs and concerns of young people are a priority in your policy making?
Good question, but as council, we have to look after the whole community, not just one group. No one group should be the priority. We're supposed to look after everybody, all groups, big, small, fat, skinny, tall. I mean, obviously young people are a concern, but so are old people and everybody else. So I think we really need to make sure we look after everyone properly, rather is what I would like to do. Thank you.
Okay, Ria, what box number?
Let's go. Box number 18.
Your question is letter C. C for Charlie. I always try and be creative, but we'll go with the
Sorry,
classic.
I naturally go to phonetic alphabet. Blame the ATC days.
Oh, good on those days. In recent years, violence directed towards Aotearoa, and in this case, Tauranga Moana's LGBTQIA Takatapui community, has increased, most notably with the destruction of our community's Rainbow Youth facility in an attack. How would you create a Tauranga Moana that actively promotes an appreciation of our diverse communities?
Great question, and I've already been in conversations with members of our Rainbow whānau, so mihi ana kia rātou. Straight to the point, again, it's about ensuring that their voices are heard and valued as valuable members of our society. And yes, while I agree with the sentiments of Tim in terms of we need to take care of all communities and all societies, I completely agree with that. But at the same time, our societies and communities are incredibly nuanced. and we need to recognise the nuances that occur in our society across the board. So being aware of certain aspects of what our communities go through, I think is really crucial. And it's rolling back around to relationships and how fundamentally crucial they are to a socially cohesive society that's built on understanding, that's built on trust, and that's what I intend to bring to the table should I be elected as councillor or as mayor.
Shelley, what box number?
Number 24, please.
Number 24, Shelley L for Lima. Do you support the proposed CBD stadium?
Yes, I do propose the stadium. However, if you look at the projected ideas for it, it's actually not going to be started until 2024. So it's not one of those projects that's immediately on the 2029, I'm sorry. One of those projects that's immediately on the table. It is one of those future projects, and it will be one that will be looked at by the new council quite seriously, I think. Personally, I'd like to see it bigger, so that we can promote bigger events, more events, and make it pay for itself.
Okay, Brian, what box number?
Lucky last, isn't it?
Well, yes, but I think we might come for a little bit of a special segment soon that doesn't normally happen. But get to your box number and I can explain how it will go.
Okay, let's take 22.
Oh, it's a long one. Bear with me. Tēnei tōpātai. Brian, your question is, letter D for Delta. The most vibrant and successful cities on earth have grown societally and economically, in part through abandoning concepts of homogenous societies and embracing the diversity of our populations. Aotearoa New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures and social identities. How would you grow Tauranga Moana through actively celebrating all peoples who call our city home?
I'm going to use my defer card and I want to give it to Ria because I think she's answered 2 of these type questions already and I've really appreciated her answers and I support her.
Thank you, Brian. That's very gentlemanly of you, even though I feel like I'm, getting past the buck here, the proverbial buck, but that's fine because I totally agree with many of the sentiments that you've expressed this evening. So how do we go about building Tauranga Moana into the society and the community and the place that we wish this place to be for our children, for our mokopuna and everyone that comes after that. And it's an intergenerational picture is what I'd like to premise this answer on. And to actively celebrate is to actively listen. To actively listen to the nuanced, vibrant communities that we have here in Tauranga. Again, 1,500 ethnicities, cultures and social identities. While that seems like a large number, it's actually not hard to listen, particularly if you've got councillors and a mayor at the council chambers and at the table that are doing exactly that and have the mechanisms in place in their particular communities to empower that and to enable that. So I think, again, it comes down to the fundamentals of relationship building on the ground, and keeping those connections strong so that voices can be heard. Kia ora.
Now, can we thank all the candidates for being very well at getting through the maximum equal number of candidates? Now, I do this when we've got 4 minutes to go. So we're going now. Stacey, tell me in my ear, what box numbers are there, Brody?
We have boxes number 1, 6 and 23.
Give me a number in my ear, Stacey, and then we'll make that box a interim hard-hitting question that will get all candidates to give a quick fire answer on. 6, is that one that was in there? Yes. Yep, go for it. Sorry, a little bit quiet.
This question has the letter A for Alpha. What political party are you linked to?
I think this is perfect.
I agree.
Okay, kick off from Brian.
Right. I'm standing as an independent. I don't represent any political party or any ideology, and I'm not there for my own agenda. But just to give you a little bit of background to myself, in 1990 and 1993, I went and stood against David Longy. I was living here at the Mount. I'd come back from overseas. I'd just bought a house and I watched interest rates climb. And I thought, the only one way to solve this, that's attack the head. So I went up to there and I stood with National because there's no other vacancies with anyone else. I just wanted to be against David Longy. I have the dubious distinction in New Zealand politics of having created the biggest swing in political history without winning a seat. I stole 8,404 votes off him. He only won by 261. And the arrogance of the man, 1 hour before the polls closed, they interviewed him and they said, Brian Archer is 2,000 votes plus ahead of you. And he looked at the camera and he says, Mangere Central hasn't been counted and I own it. And he won.
Ria,
How do you follow that?
I don't know. This is like gold.
How do you follow that? You know, my studies brain is just like on quick fire with the information that he just fed. He actually told me all of that earlier in the piece, and I'm just like, oh, who am I sitting next to? Amazing. I get asked this question, and it pops up quite frequently on my social media spaces. I'm not linked to any political party. What I am interested in is how we advance tauranga. That's precisely what I'm interested in. I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm not red, I'm not blue. I am tauranga moana, and that's what should be premising all of us trying to get this city into the space that it needs to be in. So, kia ora.
Shelley.
I would have actually liked the question to be extended, not just to belong political parties, but along affiliations, because I think that there is a lot or from what I can see on social media, there seems to be a lot of backstabbing and undermining going on. And I just think it would have been amazing if everybody had stood up, been proud of what they were standing for, and if you'd been put up as part of a group, that you would stand up and say, I'm affiliated to that group. I'm not. I'm standing purely and simply because my husband told me it was time to go and find something useful to do. and to use the skills that I've got. And so I'm standing as an independent for Papamoa.
John.
Similar to you, actually. I don't know if your husband and my wife have been talking, but she told me to go and get a real job instead of working for Athletics New Zealand. And so none. It was going to be my answer, and it's still none, and it'll always be none, because I love this place. I've always said to my wife I wanted to come back here and retire and spend time with the family, because I just love growing up here. As you said, I went to Tauranga Intermediate. Still got friends from all those years ago, from 1968 and 9. Start doing maths, you lot. Stop it. And when I was at Tauranga Intermediate and then Tauranga Boys, still got friends. I'm the Tauranga Old Boys reunion committee. So yes, none. But my wife did tell me to go and get a real job. Thank you.
And Tim.
Well, I'm really the same. I don't think, none of us are involved with political parties. I'm just standing because I want to do something for Tauranga. If I'm elected, I think ratepayers, we need to get value for money. We're not getting value for money. Mm-hmm. So as an engineer, I see the waste, I see the mismanagement, I see all the rubbish going on. So I'm just standing for Tauranga. I'm standing because I love this place. It's my home. I've raised my family here, and I want to see the best for it.
Thank you for that. And I think that was the perfect box made into hard-hitting question. I think I'm really happy with that selection. Thank you, Stacey, for that. Yes, and Stacey did respond with a thank you. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break now, and we'll be back for hard-hitting questions right after the break. Okay, welcome back. And now let's get ready for hard-hitting questions. Okay, so hard-hitting questions here are where we get all the candidates to sit there and do it. You got a little bit of a taste a bit earlier what happens with a hard-hitting question. So they all get the same question and they all have to answer it. And if they're going to plan to use their button cards, tough luck. If you want to use your defer cards, I'm sorry, they're not there. So we'll sit there and kick off. So let's go on to hard-hitting question number 1. Do you support the Tauranga City Council long-term plan 2024 to 2034? Now, where does it say on my random list? Now, I'll just refresh it now. And let's kick off with Tim.
Me again. No is the answer. We've got to amend it. It's too expensive. There's too much wasteful spending. We really need to have a good hard look at the priorities. I think my view is that $1 billion for the city centre is too much money. And on top of that, the contracts they've got, they seem to be 2 or 3 times more expensive than they should be. So I think council's job when it first gets in is to have a really good hard look at the city plan and try and get some better value for money for the ratepayers.
Okay, Brian.
I have a yes and a no answer. Yes, I do support the necessary infrastructure that we have to do. Stop that and our society collapses. Then we have health issues and other things. And the second part of my answer is no, because I think there are things in that plan, and this will be one of the taxing points for the councillors and for the mayor. We need to look at that plan and look what the commissioners have committed us to and work out what is necessary and what can be delayed and what we need to scrap.
Okay, John.
Yes. I won't go yes or no. Well, plans that look good on paper, let's face it. So I believe that you look at the plan and go, okay, what are our priorities for not only Papamoa, but for Tauranga? And then we start analysing and go line by line. It's a boring thing. It'll take us, because it's 500 pages for a start. So I like a lot of it. But like any plan, when I've done plans for World Championship teams, there's always other voices to be heard and things to change. So I like the idea of the long-term plan, and obviously we'll have to change a little bit once we get elected. Thank you.
Ria.
In principle, yes, I support the long-term plan. I do echo the sentiments of what Brian has said this evening. I think a lot of it, though, is we are basing our forward progression primarily on funding from the ratepayers, where actually we can advocate for more funding to central government, which is primarily the reason why I believe in my capacities as candidate for both Pāpāmoa and for mayor that I'll be able to deliver, because I have a direct line of sight to those spaces. So I think those conversations are very, very important, and we need to continue to look outside of our usual scope of how we would manage and work to our funding, because there are other options that we can take on to continue progressing our city into the city that we deserve to live in.
Shelley.
Yes, there's some areas of the long-term plan which I really like and I would like to see go forward. And there's other areas that I would like to see removed or delayed. I do feel that I don't want that to stop, though, or hinder the council also coming up with their own inspirations and their own aspirations and their own visions for the things that we want to do to move forward. So I see the two things as being concurrent, and that it just be as important that the new council look for new ways forward. And the most important one is new ways of funding, not just from central government, but from private public partnerships, from tourism, from international students, any way that we can look at other ways of bringing funding into our community.
Well said.
Okay, let's kick off to hard-hitting question number 2. What will you do to support and promote arts and culture programs for young people in our community? Let's kick off with Ria. You're a bit of an expert here, aren't you?
Well, I'd like to think I've got a little bit of knowledge in this space. Obviously, as part of my priorities, the arts and culture come to the fore here. We have a prime opportunity to become the city that is the capital of the arts and the capital of tourism, because look at our environment, look at the space that we live in, and we haven't utilized it to its fullest effect. Tourism, we've got opportunities to broker some amazing relationships and some amazing opportunities to really dig deep into what we have, utilizing our environment. But to promote arts, culture programs for young people in our community, we partner up. We've got the incubator here. We've got the historic village and all of the amazing work that Simone does out of that space. And we just continue to broker those relationships. Creative Bay of Plenty, Creative New Zealand down at central government. We create conditions and we create opportunities for the arts to thrive by brokering relationships. Yes.
Okay, John.
I learned the piano, would you believe, and used to loved playing classical music. So it's dear to my heart, arts and culture, because it developed me as a young person and my family as well. I would love to see us use the abilities of our young people in music and art. We can do that through events, because I had a violinist play at the base of the mountain. We had the New Zealand Mountain Running Championships here in March of last year, and I had a violinist play, and I had the Maori and Pacific Island drum starting the races, and it was just fantastic. We do it in Rotorua as well at our Rotorua Marathon. So there's practical examples where we can actually foster our arts and culture with our young people, but not only our young people, us oldies as well are pretty good at art. Don't look at me, please, when I say that, but there is. And so we just have, as we've all said here, it's about building relationships. Thank you.
Tim.
Well, I think the schools do a fantastic job starting with arts and culture. I know Mount College, they're very, very strong on drama. I was there just this last week at a dance. They had a dance performance on as part of their NCA. So the schools are the starting ground for arts and culture, I think, in New Zealand. And then after that, there's actually a very rich, kind of diverse culture in Tauranga. Hundreds of little community groups doing different things. And I think that's what we should be fostering, is encouraging all those groups, encourage young people to get involved in a group or even start their own group, start some initiative. Because if the initiatives come up from the community, you know that someone wants it. It's not just a case of trying to, well, we should do this or we should do that, or that would be a good idea. But these young people, it's good for them to take some leadership and show a bit of initiative and actually get involved themselves. If they want something, well, then do it.
Brian.
Every Easter, we do the jazz festival here. We already have the foundations that are required to expand on the potential of this question. As Ria said, we live in such a beautiful part of this country. There's so much more we can do. And it is probably the one exception I would make if I was voted on council, ended up on council, as to where we actually spend money for something that is not all embracing for everyone in the community. I would support this, the answer to this question, what I would do, I would support the promotion and the cultural programs that young people came forward with, because we are the ideal place for this to happen.
Shelley.
Yes, I'm quite strong on this one too. The new civic centre that's being built is going to have a large cultural part of it, and I think that that's a really good and exciting opportunity for us all. And I also think that the historic village is being very underutilised at this point, and I would love to see some revitalisation and some development, further development money allowed for that to become a real cultural centre for our community. I think that there's a huge opportunity there. It's an amazing place, and it not only allows for arts, but also allows as a performance space and an opportunity for people to grow in that area. So I'd like to see that some money being put forward for that.
Okay, so now let's move on to hard-hitting question number 3. What steps will you take to make sure local government is transparent and accountable? That feels like Penny Bright wrote that from the dead. Yes, I did have some good work with that, and that would be something that she would sit there and ask. Shelley, you get to go up first.
I would really like to see that our new council shows a diversity of not only culture but of ages. I'd like to think that we have a broad spectrum of ethnicities and of age groups on our council, and I know with 10 people that's going to be difficult. But looking at some of the wards, there are some very talented young people standing, and I'd like to think that you can look at our ward and see that we have some very talented older people standing who bring a whole new set of wisdom to the council table. And I hope that that we get that diversity. I hope for robust, respectful debate, because I think that's important about how we make decisions. And then when we leave the council chamber, we leave acknowledging other our differences, but acknowledging that we've made the best decision for Tauranga and the greater community.
Brian.
When I looked at this question, the key words to me in this are transparency and accountability. And I can only speak for myself here, but for me, it is me being loyal to you people who elect me. Serving you, not myself. It is showing respect to my fellow councillors, including if we have difference of opinions and views. It's being accepting them. No backstabbing like we saw last time, and committing myself to work as a team, not as individuals who has his own agenda. Thank you.
Okay, Tim.
Good old Tauranga, the home of backroom deals for years and years and years. And what are we going to do about it? Well, to me, we have the elected members, and if you want transparency and accountability, you need honest elected members who haven't got an agenda and are there to serve the community. If you've got honest members, you'll get transparency and accountability. If they're dishonest and have got agendas, it'll all be hidden under the table. In terms of the council staff themselves, for years they've got away with murder. There's no accountability with the council staff. Nobody's holding their feet to the fire. That's something that the elected members are supposed to do, but for years and years and years they haven't, and the commissioners certainly haven't. They've just let them get away with murder. So we need to put some sort of review process in so that we can hold the staff to be accountable, and we can also find out what they're doing. Thank you.
Gee, that sits there and sounds like we need to have some hot camera live streams of these secret meetings.
There's a lot of secret meetings go on, tell you.
Ria.
I think the good thing about someone like me is that I have a really fresh viewpoint and approach to this particular next iteration of council. And I believe that if we are all on that same way of thinking, this will transpire into a council that is transparent and accountable. And so while I agree with what's been said here this evening, I'll be encouraging our council to engage in a direct democracy approach. I'm big on this with our communities for open and honest conversations to occur. Clear communication is tantamount to any successful relationship, and that is no different for a council and its constituents. And further to that, frequent and regular engagement on key issues and proposals bestowed policy development during and after. And our community must be at the helm when we drive change and when we go to impact and affect change across the community.
Okay, John.
Yeah, well, I agree with everything that's been said. I'm going to have two practical things. I'm going to have a meeting every 2 weeks at Robert Harris and one at Ted and Henry's. So when the community actually asks me something, I'm going to have a regular that's my office, by the way, those two offices. I don't pay any rent, so it saves the council money. But that's what I'll be talking about, the issues that affect them and the decisions we have made. So I've got to justify it on behalf of the community. So it's not me, it's them. Second thing, after those local meetings, every month I'll be having those. Third thing will be Survey Monkeys. They're free. I've done this with a whole lot of stuff that I've done before, and the feedback I get from people, you can go small groups, you can go large, but we've got to hear from them. And if you don't meet them or you don't actually engage with them, it's going to be the same old story that 10 people are going to make the decisions. And I agree with what you said. We've got to do the community. So thank you. Those are the things I would do.
Now, just to let you know, we're running ahead of time. So while we're going to be going to Robert Harris for a coffee, because I own been here and it's been a barista, I'd like to find out what is each candidate's favourite coffee. So we have a bit more of a personal touch. So if you said and went to Robert Harris, or you came to Bean here and you asked for a coffee, what would it be? Let's kick off with Brian.
I don't drink coffee. And you want to know why?
Go.
In 2015, I went to South Sudan and built a house for 2 missionaries over there. While I was there, I got a double dose of malaria. I came back to New Zealand in Tauranga Hospital. I ended up with Giardia. At the end of 2015, I walked out of that hospital weighing 47 kgs. I was like a prisoner of war person. The side effect of all that is I cannot stand the taste of coffee anymore.
Oh,
I drink a weak herbal tea.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah, don't blame me on that one. Ria.
How do you follow the act? How do you follow the act that is Brian Archer? My goodness. It's simple for me. Long black with a side of cream. Kia ora tatou.
Shelley.
Well, we actually make our own coffee, and so our coffee beans we get from this wonderful little coffee shop in Taupo, and I will actually make the trip over there once a month just to buy them.
Nice.
John.
Me, it's easy, flat white, no sugar because I'm sweet enough. Well, my wife told me I should say that. And a chocolate chip. Oh, no, sorry, I tell a lie. That's raspberry and chocolate chip muffin to go with it. You just can't have coffee without supporting your local cafe by whatever they've made.
I like the philosophy. Tim.
Well, I like making coffee at home. It's what I have to do every morning before my eyes open properly. So I just have plunger coffee at home. And that's just pick and save cheapo coffee. But if I do go to a cafe, I just get a latte or whatever I feel like on the day.
Fair enough. And open for transparency, I am allergic to dairy. So it has to be an alternative milk. And I'm a big fan of either the coconut mocha or a coconut hot chocolate. And I've even got our candidate liaison here hooked onto coconut flat whites. Yeah. I think, did you ditch the sugar with coconut? Yep. Yeah. He's, ditched the sugar on it.
That's why his skin is so smooth.
So yes, that's my little fluff question for the show where we get to sit there and do it. Now let's get to the fun part of closing statements. And Ian, can you hit the 2-minute countdown clock instead of the 1? If you'd like to give, so I'm going, because we're running ahead, I'll give every candidate a 2-minute closing statement. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. And I'll just get a random order number. Brian, you get to go up first.
I started first, so I guess I finished first. Right. I thought carefully about what I wanted to say here. And I'm probably the eldest person here. But my age brings experience, wisdom, and calm, rational thinking. I'm not ego-driven. I can engage in debates without taking things personally. I can respect different points of view. I know how to work as a team, and I'm a good listener. For 3.5 years, I was the private project manager of Council's downtown Edgewater development project. And believe me, when you talked about in-house deals, I saw it all happening there. I have experience with their systems. I know how they operate. I have a well-rounded knowledge of roading, infrastructure, and housing, building. I am not starting from scratch. My background is in accounting, as well as being a builder and running a drone pilot business, and I can read a balance sheet. As to change is inevitable for us. I'm not against meaningful change. My concern is what is necessary and practical change for us, for our city, for our ward, both now and for future generations. Thank you.
Okay, Tim.
Right, 2 minutes.
I know.
Well, I'm an engineer, so I bring an engineering perspective to what's going on in council. So problem solving, looking at things and thinking, well, that's could be done better. Tauranga has been really badly managed for decades, probably. Developers haven't paid enough contribution. We've got bad decisions being made. The council staff, it's been a toxic work environment for years and nothing has been done. So if I was elected to council, what I would want to do straight in is review everything that the commissioners have done so far and just find out what we can keep, what we can modify, and what we have to scrap. We've then got to go in and reorganise the council itself. It's very wasteful. They've got one manager to 4.4 staff, where it should be about 1 to 10, 1 to 12. Terribly wasteful in their contracting strategy. I watch their contracting strategy and I just think, what on earth are they doing with our money? They're doing things that are costing 2 or 3 times as much as they should. If you can reduce all that waste, stop all these silly projects, like they've spent X million upgrading Durham Street and putting in these rain gardens. Well, now they're going to put the buses there and they'll pull the rain gardens out. So it's cost them millions of dollars to put the jolly things in, and it's going to cost them millions of dollars to take them back out again. Well, I mean, to me, that's just stupid. That's just a lack of planning, a lack of thinking things through, just really bad management. And that needs to change. But to change that council culture would probably take 10 years, 4, 5, 10 years, because they've got rid of a lot of their competent staff. Only what? So the third thing is just to get back to the community. We have to listen to the community instead of the big developers and the backroom deals.
We need some, was it wired hot mics and hot Zoom feeds of these backroom deals?
Well, you know, the funny thing is that it's actually the council staff monitor the emails of the councillors. Did you know that's the other way around?
Yes, Horowhenua District Council was sitting down there stopping Michael Fayon from emailing council staff, from what I remember in the Horowhenua Mail that my dad had to sit there and say to me, saying it was a bit like the Gestapo at the local council.
It is. It's worse than you think.
Yes, and I see why a lot of councillors do have their own personal email addresses that they keep published in places like on their social media to get around that sort of stuff.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they have bugs in the mayor's office and things like that.
Yes, yes. If you're successful, please make sure it gets as a get the GCSB or the SAS to sit there and do a security sweep. Yeah, Shelley.
Yes, I'm finding that a bit hard to follow. Actually, with I'd just like to start with a little bit about me. I started my working life as a teacher, and have taught everything from 5-year-olds to at university. And I have spent my entire life jumping from one side of the desk to the other. So I got a master's in education, and then thought that business education, or the business of education, was important to be pursued. So I went and got an MBA from Waikato University, and ended up doing some lecturing there as well. And so I come from a role of not only education, but also governance. I've sat on a number of non-for-profit boards, as well as boards of big companies. I've been part of IOD, both in Auckland and in Waikato, for a number of years, and recently retired during COVID, which is why now we've done all the lawns and all the things that need to be done around the house, and it's time to move on in our big wide world. So I believe that the commissioners have left us with a blueprint for moving forward. The new council will have to review it, but I don't want that to hold us back on being progressive and innovative. There will be changes within council, but our role is a governance role. Yes. And our role is purely and simply to ask for those reviews, to set the parameters for those reviews, and to ensure that they are done. I'm sure that there is wasteful money in council, but I don't want that to be our sole focus. We want to stay visionary, and this is an opportunity for us to move forward. I look forward to meeting the people of Papamoa. Vote Shelley Robb for a strong voice around the council table, because I'm standing for you.
John. Yeah, hi. My dad always told me I had one mouth, two ears. So he said at an early age, what do you think, John, that you should do with those three things? So I learned to listen. I'm a running coach. I've got to listen to my athletes. And so my big thing I'll go back to, we've got to listen to the community. We've got to be focused on them. It's not my personal point of view. For example, I like the stadium where it is. I'd like to move it closer to Papamoa because I live in Papamoa. So selfishly, for the athletic kids of Papamoa Athletics, which is 250 odd members, the second biggest, I'd like the stadium moved. But when I've actually asked people, they don't want it moved. So my role as the councillor is to listen and go, right, it stays where it is. Simple. I might not agree with it, but that's just me. Secondly, we've got to be inspirational and visionary, as already said. Love those words, but it means something. It has to be practical when we do that sort of stuff. So we have to have practical solutions to roading. As I said, for example, that road at Papamoa Beach Road is horrible. And for some reason, and the Domain Road actually. So practically, I'd love those things to be fixed. Because when I've talked to people at the mall here, the big thing for them was practical things, roading. The rates should be done at inflation, not high or fixed. Those were the key issues. Safety. I love the idea of the lighting. Makes sense to me. Things have to make sense. And I love listening, and I love practical solutions. It's all about solutions that force our community to be better. Last thing, my family loves it here. And that's the reason I'm standing. I'd love your support. I don't care if it's 1, 2, 3. Well, no, I don't want 7 or 8. That's not fair. I'd love it. I just love your support because I think I can add value with my experience, being on boards, and the community. Thank you.
Okay, Ria.
Oh, kia ora, everybody. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to my fellow candidates who have put their hands up, put their hats in the ring. It is a very, very brave and bold move to do that. So, and I've really enjoyed this evening sitting next to you all and hearing your points of view. So, e mihi ana kia koutou katoa e aku rangatira. For me, well, my campaign is premised on a hope for change. And so that's my primary focus. And while some discussions may appear in the passive, I'm very much focused on solutions-based outcomes. And so my mindset will always be moving towards a more positive way to look at how we can solve the issues that have plagued our city. We have a primary opportunity right now to engage in a process that hasn't been engaged with adequately. I think Brian and I were discussing before some 40% turnout last local government elections. They're hoping this time around for around 50%, but why only 50%? How come we can't get other people involved in this process? Well, I believe that this particular version of elections will garner so much more support. And I'm really excited about that, because what that means is that democracy in its fuller capacity is returning to Tauranga, because people want solutions, people want vision, people want councillors and a mayor at the helm that can say what they're going to do and get the job done. Of course, with the community at the head of the table as well, the community being the focus point for every single decision that comes out of that house. I have governance experience. I've sat on a number of national boards. I am a business owner. I've owned a business for nearly a decade. So I'm not just some young face that's come out of the song books. I'm actually a practical person to vote for. So I do encourage you to vote one for Ria Hall. Kia ora.
Now, here's the very important part of the show. Whoever becomes the elected councillor for the Pāpāmoa Ward will have to, on the final iteration, to have achieved at least 50% of the vote plus one. So when it comes to ranking your candidates, your second, third, and fourth and fifth preference votes are just as equally as important as that number one. But make sure you put the number one on the ballot paper, otherwise the computer reads it as an invalid vote. Just to sit there and do that. So when you come down to voting, you know, use the tool here of it's in the ballot. This is what it's about, is to help they're doing it. I'm sure people here in the room are going to happily share our live stream along with the candidates. You use it as a tool there, and you rank in there and you rank your voting papers, because this election is going to be coming down to second and third and fourth precinct votes, not just number ones. So that will be the big key thing to go through there. And can I also say thank you to the candidates for coming tonight. It's not easy to chuck yourself in front of a camera. Many people who have come onto our show have started off going, it's a bit daunting walking in the door and walking out feeling like they're ready for Jack Tame on Q&A. You know, I think that's a big way. And Jack, if you're watching, here's some great candidates to interview. And I'm very sure Q&A is actually going to be watching this content, considering they have used our footage in the Port Waikato by-election, and I'm very happy that they have done that. So, yes, so going through that, can I also sit there and thank Stacey, who's been our remote editor from Wellington, for Ray, who's been doing our cameras, for Ian, who's been doing the editor desk, for Nick being candidate liaison, and for hosting the 4 p.m. show. It's not easy to sit in the driver's seat of one of these shows, and it's it's not easy for me to let someone else drive my car, as that can be sit there and said. But you did a good job, and can also thank you to Brody for coming in for question host. Some of the comments that have gone on there saying you've got the right voice for was it radio or TV? So. Go, get your microphone up so those at home can hear.
Sorry, those at home. Can I just say on behalf, and I hope you don't mind me putting words in your mouths, thank you, Sam, for putting this together. It has been a wonderful evening. Thank you for the team who've supported him. And thank you, all of you, for coming out and clapping, supporting, smiling, and helping us and encouraging us to try and answer the questions better for you. Thank you.
If you do want to help, it's in the ballot. We are a unincorporated non-profit, and we rely on small dollar donations. been here, also the same business as mine, has given courtesy of one of our 2 EFTPOS machines to come up to help facilitate that needs. Also, if you're on the live stream, you'll see a QR code up on there for it, or you can also head to, it's in the ballot, to the donation sections. If you want to do it with the least fees possible and to stop making banks making rich profits, the bank account number is, I'd say, the best way to go because it clears the quickest as well. Or you can also use the Eventbrite ticketing option for the donation. Was it donation without a ticket? That stays live for another week. So yes, there are definitely different options out there. So that's what we want to do. So tomorrow we will be in Welcome Bay covering both Tauranga Ward and Welcome Bay Ward. Tauranga at 4 o'clock. Get the times right. And Welcome Bay at 7. So if you want to come and see the candidates there, and I believe we're going to be having, both shows are going to have 100% confirmed candidates, because I've just sat there and seen one of the emails that have popped through during today has signed off one of those candidates who is a bit unsure, but the candidates who participated in the ballot today sold the show. So we'll sit there and do that. So yeah, and join us at 7 p.m. on Friday for the mayoral debate. This is going to be very interesting because I think it's the first time we have 15 candidates. We're going to make a very interesting job. We're probably going to run on overtime, but hey, you know, we've got to give everyone that fair chance to say, and the local paper will be live blogging it. Was it now? Is it called Sun Live, or is it called The Sun, or what is it called? Sun Live. Sun Live. Yeah. It was like a couple different names, but it was the same crowd. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, so doing that. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow on It's on the Ballot. Have a good evening.